bad, Mary, for that too sweet play-in. Welcome all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is U.S. Comics Cast, your HQ for all things comic book related. Yo soy John Rivera, the CEO and co-founder of U.S. Comics.
And that makes me your COO of U.S. Comics, the other co-founder, the other co-host, and your hybrid panda. Happy Comic Book Day, John.
Charlie,
Yes?
happy Comic Book Day to you. How you doing, brother?
You know, I'm hanging in there, is I think all we can do.
By a thread.
By a thread. I had one of the longest, like 36 hours of my life this last weekend. Did a couple charity events with the Ghostbusters. However,
what was that like?
However, Sunday was extra special because we were the elite, the elite, and we finally got you suited up at a charity event. So I kick it back to you. How was it for you, my friend?
You know what? Once I was actually able to get into uniform when I wasn't walking around closed malls, when I wasn't walking behind dumpsters and in fields, open woods like I was damn Sasquatch himself. Once that was done, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I got all my steps in for the day before even 10 a.m. So I had no complaints. I had a dynamite time. It was so good meeting so many people there. Tropicon, if I'm not mistaken, out on Long Island. I had a great time. Met a lot of people. Sold some merch. Some people even got some deals off of Ghostbuster merchandise when they were dealing with yours truly. Sorry about the profit margin, Charlie. It was great. Good. I had a great time, man.
That's fantastic. Yeah, beyond that, it was a lot of me trying to soak in free comic book day, trying to get through my books. So it's been busy, but it got like easier and easier. Never have I packed up the Ecto more full. There, you couldn't fit a fart in the car ride home.
You couldn't fit, ironically, a ghost into that car. It was packed so tight, and they're not, they got no bodies. They're just like they're like farts. They're gas. They're nothing.
Little ghost flatulence, as it
basically
were.
So I thought I smelled something.
So how about you, man? What are you watching? What are you reading? What you doing?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because this was one of those weeks where, shockingly, something snuck up on me. Something ninja-esque. Tiptoed up, leaned over their little cutesy chin over my shoulder and said, "Mwah, I got a little something for you, John, and you didn't expect it." Matter of fact, that cute something that I'm referring to is none other than friend of the show, Sean Burbage. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, did you catch What If yet?" And I said, "Oh shit! It can't. What If dropped already?" So
on a Wednesday, I had to prepared mentally.
I had to race. Matter of fact, here we are technically on this comic book day at time of recording. Episode 2 has dropped already, but I don't want to put the cart before the proverbial British horse.
That seems very quick. Like that's like we put up the spoiler warning, but that needs to be like, do you have no job, no life, no friends? Not to say I've already seen it, so I guess yes, and yes, but I digress.
So you are who you're talking to in that scenario.
Yeah. As most of the time, I am the person I'm making fun of.
So the first and second, but we're only going to talk about the first episodes of Marvel's What If.
So spoiler warning in effect.
Throw the spoiler up there. Oh, look at my little lovely British rose. I gotta say, and obviously this is something that we're going to talk about. I don't think there were any surprises regarding, episode 1 versus episode 2. Like, we know which particular episode is going to be about what particular subject matter. So the fact that they were kicking everything off with Captain Carter, not Captain Britain. Let's not get crazy. Or confuse the masses, because as we know, What If has already put a boggle in their proverbial minds. But I'll
Could you
throw it right back to you,
imagine?
Charlie. How do you think they started?
Um, this show exemplifies everything I do not like about Marvel.
What?
I genuinely, now this is the crazy that lives inside my brain. I liked it visually. I liked the idea of the episode. Everyone did their job. I think the What If series so far, based on the pilot,
Yeah.
made some really big mistakes. I think them
What
letting us
in
know.
tarnation are you jibber jabbering about?
I think, and one could say it's unavoidable, but I call shenanigans to that. I think us knowing what episodes were gonna come took some of the fun out of it because we've already spent months being like, I want to see, her as Captain Carter.
Sure.
I,
She deserves it. Marvel has done poor Haley Atwell so dirty over these years. I mean, like Red Skull would blush if he had cheeks and he had blood vessels in those said cheeks. He would blush when he saw how poorly Marvel has treated this wonderful performer. But
and
I'm
I'm a
really
huge
surprised to hear
I
it,
was a
man. I
huge fan
loved it.
of I was a huge fan of her series, so maybe it's because it was so
Not the
short.
series.
I feel like the criticism that DC gets a lot is
Yeah.
that everything is kind of hot shotted.
How so?
Everything is like, here's the
Like
concept
vinegar
we're gonna
strokes? Like what is it exactly that you're accusing them of?
I think if this was a 2 or 3 parter where we got to live in the world and enjoy the meal,
Oh,
I feel like it started, got to the middle, and ended just as my smile reached max capacity. And again, there's this notion of like there could be another season, and that's all well and good, but I have to
sure.
base these things
I
on
think
what
there
they
very
are.
much will be.
And as a singular episode,
Yeah.
the thing they accomplished was me wanting more. The thing they failed to do was to give me something I felt was fully fleshed out. I feel like a
Ah,
lot of
I
relationships.
could not disagree with you more. Now let me
Go
ask you
ahead,
this
yeah.
really quickly. Obviously, we
And
know.
it breaks my little heart to say
I
because I
mean, it
think
was
she's
not.
amazing.
I
I
gotta
think the character
say
design's great.
the little Grinchy scene where we put the magnifying glass up to it. There was not much left, if I'm being totally frank. But I do want to ask you this: we all know that you're a huge comic book head at this point in the game, even bigger than me. You're like level of comic book head, like you could be in the president's races between innings at at Nationals games. But back in the day, because this was not so much a modern publication, but back in the day, were you big subscriber to the What If comics, or did you just kind of whichever one's filtered down through my fingers that got to you? Did you read?
I think this is where my DC fanboy is showing
Okay,
because a lot of the DC,
the
uh,
Elseworlds,
the Elseworlds tale, which is
right?
just their version of What If,
Hmm.
tend to be much bigger books, much bigger stories.
This is true.
Uh, what if Superman lands in Russia? Is this like
Oh,
epic?
it's epic. It's graphic, literally.
This
Now
felt to me like if you were to set it to paper, it would
right,
have been like
it's a cop. It's an issue.
yeah, it would have been half an issue to me.
No, no, it's
This
an
is
issue. Now,
this
now
is
this is why.
14 pages to me.
This is why we've had this conversation
We
both
do.
here
I'm
and
very
in public.
gluttonous.
No, no, no. Let me make this point because I will forget it. I promise. We often make the complaint of the conversation that there's no direct from comic to adaptation at this point. Even when certain storylines that we're familiar with make their way onto the big screen or the small screen, if it plays out storylines, play out Civil War, Planet Hulk, what we end up getting are little bits and pieces, right? The creators, the money people on the other side of the wall, they take little bits and pieces from comics and comic book arcs, both big and small, that they think will translate to big money. Almost never have we gotten a direct from page to screen, be it big or small, adaptation. Now, I'm glad that you said that because I felt the same way, but in the positive, in the affirmation, this was a literal what if issue, right? If somebody went and they transposed precisely what happened in the course of this story, what if Peggy Carter actually got the first super serum, super serum, super soldier serum, alliteration be damned. This is what the issue would have looked like. And
Sure.
I fucking loved it. They had that little in between montage that we always like, oh,
Need
I'm
a
gonna beat up some Nazis.
montage.
Exactly. So you got the beginning, you got the montage in the middle, and then you got the final arc conclusion, all within a tidy package, which we often know you have been referred to in high school. And they did it in such a way that when it finished, I said, delicious.
Yeah,
I'm not a glutton.
I
I'm
wasn't
not saying
satisfied.
this wasn't Thanksgiving dinner though, Charlie. This was a little snack. This means every
Yeah.
Wednesday for the next several weeks, we're gonna have a tasty snack waiting for us. I loved it.
So it also breaks down to how I generally like my content. So the
You
Marvel,
want it tall and heaped on the plate, and you want a
well,
buffet style. You better not charge me for another Coke. I am not paying.
the benefit of don't it's not even the Coke because I don't drink. It's now like I ordered a side of bacon with my cheeseburger because I compared the price of the bacon cheeseburger to the cheeseburger with a side of bacon, and one was cheaper. So you better not overcharge me because I will
You
go to the
want
manager.
you
I
order
will
the
make a
bacon
big
with
deal.
a side of burger.
Correct. For me, it feels like the advantage of the television space is that we get more, not less. Otherwise, literally make it 15 minutes and throw it in front of the movie. Like for
No,
me,
come on.
and
It's
you have
not
to
it's
remember
not a
one of my
tag.
favorite series of all time, not only of the last few years, is Love, Death, and Robots, which is
Absolutely.
even shorter. But for me, those stories are wildly more satisfying because it does. And part of it, I thought, because it became this thing of like, how come this thing that has parts I love, I don't have any desire to revisit it, which is super rare
What?
for me.
I promise that you missed little nuggets. They threw
Sure,
so
but who
much.
gives like
They packed that episode like you packed the Ecto this weekend. There was literally not a negative space that you could jam in even a piece of paper. Charlie, it was so rife with content. I promise if you did go back, you would find other little things that you left off. But even if you didn't, the stuff that was front and center. Okay, so now here's the hypothetical again. What if Peggy Carter
I
got
feel
the
like I
super
broke up with you, by
soldier
the way.
You did. You
This
did.
feels
I
a
can
lot
change. All right. I don't know who you think you're gonna find out there, but you're not gonna find them. So that being said, what if she got the serum? First of all, the scenario of how it turned out, the whole process rolls the same. If we carted it over from First Avenger, it's exactly the same up into that first few moments of animation. When homeboy undercover Nazi pulls out the weapon, our girl gets in the way. Our boy Steve takes one for the team. She's like, I cannot waste this opportunity. She does what true heroes do. Just like Steve jumped on the grenade, she jumped into the capsule, jammed that sucker, that round hole into the square peg, jumped in, seized up, and she came out like, oh, she came out diesel. She came out looking like she was gonna play center in the WNBA.
For a second,
and
I was like,
dominate. She
are
came
we
out like Shaq.
Are we watching She-Hulk? Did they whitewash She-Hulk? Because I will
So-
say there's a meme. There's a meme that came out of this that made the entire series worth it. And it's just someone took from probably somewhere inappropriate, but it's a big, beefy, muscular chick holding
What's
up
her name?
like another little lady, but they cut and pasted Steve Rogers' face on it. So it's just like the idea of Sharon be like, "Oh, we're gonna dance, boy."
Well, you know that has
I-
multiple meanings. When she says we're gonna dance, you better get your dancing shoes on, but maybe you better pack a little protection
knee
too, 'cause
pads, elbow pads, a
if she
helmet.
wants it to happen, It's gonna happen. But that all being said, we know, okay, on the surface, she's gonna become in essence Captain America. Again, not Captain Britain. She went with Captain Carter, which I freaking love that because again, this alternate timeline, the Watcher breakdown had a perfect opening credit sequence. Like, look, this is what it's gonna be. Dude, I fucking loved it. But that all being said, then you say, okay, well, the timeline is now wildly different. So if Kang was sitting back, that variant, that line was gonna go off crazy. There was gonna be people jumping through windows all over the place, digital windows. But we got to see, okay, well, if this continued, then what happens? Also, as well as her becoming, in essence, the first super soldier, now you're also gonna get Stark Sr. really making the first Iron Man. Dude,
Now
that was
I gotta
such
tell
an
you
awesome
that
moment. That was such
that's
a great
part of my
throwback.
disappointment, though.
What are you talking about? How are you disappointed in that?
Iron Man's my favorite movie, so like I wanted to see and they
Oh,
didn't have the running time for it, but the
Charlie.
concept, like he just shows up and it's cool, but I had already seen it, so I knew it was coming. This is a real victim. The same way a lot of
Yeah,
movies get
this
spoiled.
is called a this is an embarrassment of riches. You and I've used this analogy on you within the last few days, but I'm gonna go back to the well because it is too appropriate. You are that lady walking down the street with a ham under each arm and complaining about no pot. There is so much here for you. You got to be kidding me.
Not enough. I wanted more.
Unbelievable.
I
Just
wanted
unbelievable.
more.
Selfish, selfish, selfish. You're looking at a boy, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be celebrating Christmas and Hanukkah because he just wants the presents to keep on coming.
And the
I'm
thing
shocked.
is, it's not that. It's not that. Again, I'm gonna cite Love, Death, and Robots.
Okay.
Almost every episode,
Right.
almost everyone left me wanting more, but I left that episode filled to the brim.
Well, sure, but
And
you know what?
I think it's
there's a
because of
reason why.
the shared material. I
Nope.
think took away me. Well, I mean, it's my brain. But
Nope.
go ahead.
I will tell you the reason why your brain is misfiring right now. That's right. Alice is right. The reason why Charlie did not like this first episode of What If is because Charlie's check from Disney did not clear this week. Ellis is indeed correct. No, the reason
My HBO Max one did though. Yeah.
as many similarities as the What If series has and will continue to have with one of our favorite series, Love, Death, Robots. It actually has more in common probably with the Animatrix in that it has the same
Goddamn
format.
favorite thing, yeah.
However, there's a familiarity with the content. So Love, Death, Robots, you're like, I'm gonna tune in. Black Mirror, similar. You know the general scenario, but you're like, I have no freaking idea where this is gonna take me. Whereas here, we know the characters, we know the cast, so to speak, and we know something to compare it to. Well, what if this happened? And in our head, we're already comparing it to like, well, this is what did happen. Now this is, this is on the other side of that question, that question mark.
I just
No,
don't.
hold on. Let me finish my thought. The reason why is you're automatically, it's in essence, it's forcing you to say, well, which version did you like better? And especially the fact that they're saying it's close-ended, which you saying you don't like, but I fucking love, not just because it's a direct port from comic to screen, because that's how the What If comics were. You like the beginning to
A little
end,
boring and disappointing.
and you know, no, I'll kill you. And that, first of all, that's what our parents said about the second born. No, because when you read it cover to cover, if you loved it, great. We'll see you again here next month. If you hated it, sorry to hear that, but we got a new one coming for you next month. If it was comic, in this case,
I gotta
it's
tell you, I'm
next,
petrified.
it's next week.
I'm
Petrified. You gotta be. Oh, dude, I am shocked and chagrined right now.
I would love nothing more than to be able to sit here and say like, 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
I'm
As far
shocked.
as this sort of story goes, swing and a miss for me.
So my question to you then is this, just to clarify the point, because you did bounce around a little bit. You disliked it ultimately because it left you wanting more from the story.
I found it, the better way to word it is that I found it did not satisfy me.
It didn't satisfy you. But now again, question from the steno pool. Um, would you want to learn more about this particular version of that story? That what
Absolutely.
if? Okay,
Absolutely.
so
And
now again,
time
let's
could
take you.
tell.
No, no, hold on. This is a yes no question. So now let's take you back to your buffet scenario. You're at the buffet and you're like, this plate that I grabbed is now empty. I'm going to go, it's my choice. I'm going to refill it with more of that same thing. Would you refill that plate because you didn't like the way it tasted?
No, of course not.
There you go. So
But
you were like, no, no, no,
but
no, no, no.
if
I
you
like the
go
way this
but
tasted.
if you go
I
to a
want
buffet,
more.
but if I go to a buffet and I make my one plate and then they're like, "We're closed." I didn't go to a restaurant. I
Well, I
went
mean,
to a buffet.
this sounds like more of a scheduling issue, or more of a scheduling problem on your
Well,
side. Now, if you are at
it's a
said
buffet,
buffet,
but
let's
it's also a
stay in the
buffet where
metaphor.
we may never get, we may not get more. And if we never get
That's
more,
true. That's
totally
true.
not satisfied.
So you go, okay, hold on a second. So we're at this hypothetical buffet.
They've
Oh man,
run out of
I love metaphors. It is my ooh, baby, it's what I love to do. So we're at this hypothetical Marvel what if buffet, and Charlie fills one plate and he's like, you know what? I did that was tasty. Captain Carter, I'm looking at you, girl. Tasty as hell. I'm gonna go refill my plate. And then said purveyor of tasty delights says, you know what, unfortunately that particular dish we've
yeah.
run out.
That's a
That we've
bad
run out.
Yelp review.
Hold on a second, we've run out. It's we only are able to get so many lobsters from the port, whatever the case might be. However, we have 23 other dishes
Sure.
at your disposal. So rather than being that kid that keeps on going to the same source over and over, the same thing, mixing up, like you don't want to be, I'll have the regular guy. No, the
I
menu's got
disagree.
multiple pages. You're like, you know what? Let me try this. Let me get some of this and
Sure.
that.
But
There's plenty
again,
of content
we're
which is
at the
ongoing. This is
buffet.
different.
We're at the buffet and I go to get a wonton. They're like, we got one wonton. I'm like, all right, that sucks a little bit. I'd much rather
But you
have
can
three.
have it.
They give me the wonton. Then I go,
Yes,
dope. Do you got boneless ribs? They're like, we got one piece of boneless rib.
that's
I'm like,
fine.
so at the end, I might be like, oh, delicious. But ultimately, stop trying to show the thing I'm trying to show. Are you the producer or am I the producer? I get it. Paul made a good point.
I thought you were online at the buffet, bro. I was trying to help you out, man. I didn't want you to miss out on that one
If you
time.
go to a buffet, you get one drop of cola, one ice cube, one wonton. You
Dude, this
might
was
leave.
more than a drop, man. This was more than a drop.
I disagree.
How
You
about the
can't
fact?
tell me
How
what I
about the
want.
little nuances of how making these changes? Doc Brown would have been, Doc Brown would have been proud because the butterfly effect was in full effect. Because you know what? With her now becoming the first super soldier, that also prevented Bucky from taking a header off of the train. Also, as well as I loved how they peppered in a little bit of time is not going to be denied. If Steve was supposed to go down with the ship, well, you know what? Okay, maybe he's not Captain America now, but we're going to figure out another way for him to go down the ship. He's going to go down in the first ever Mark I Iron Man suit, painted up all green like the first War Machine. There were so many parts about this episode. When I see you in person, I'm going to forcibly sit you down and we're going to rewatch this episode. And I'm going to make you take notes of all the reasons why you're like, you know what? I expect a full written and verbal apology for
The
all these
difference.
lovely people.
The difference is this: It's that I'm not a liar. I actually know I'm not one of these backpedaling reviewers
That's
that
true.
suddenly are pretending they hate shit that they loved shit that they hated. I've read a review. This fucking guy went on a whole diatribe about how fuck Quentin Tarantino and his 10th movie. I read his reviews. 9 reviews, 10 out of 10s. You're fucking full of shit. You dirty motherfuckers are just like one George Toy Boy Lucas, because you, like them, are liars.
You're liars.
Know how I know George Lucas is a liar?
He's a liar.
Because Han shot Foist
first. Put him up. Clink.
I have to start like leaving it cold until freaking until it's time. Hit!
Come on, bro. English style. Look, if Captain Carter has taught us all of the beauty of England, the one thing that she must have impressed upon you is that alcohol is drank room temperature.
Disagree. So, my dear brother, hit my time.
Look at that. It worked.
I liked it.
Take down that spoiler
One
warning.
thing
Good boy.
that did. I am the goddamn producer of this show. I'm the producer. You write copy. I produce. No more hitting fucking buttons. God damn it,
Desperate.
sir.
I am desperate to hit a button right now. You
How
guys back me up.
dare you, you butt of a cinch. I'm gonna fucking go at you like the Bad Batch, because one thing that didn't disappoint me was I just finished up Star Wars The Bad Batch on
Finally.
Disney Plus. It's a series that, admittedly, I had very little interest in.
Really?
Again, we've talked about it before.
With as much equity as Filoni has garnered in this little community.
That's the thing. Like to go to your favorite thing, an analogy. It's like having your favorite chef in the world, like be like, oh, now I'm vegan, so I'm gonna make you a nice vegan plate. I will go, but like I'm probably not gonna go opening night. Like I'm gonna make excuses for a while. Be like, oh, no, bro. Like, Jess has to go to Hawaii. I got to help her pack her bag. But
I'm
then
going to write this down because I have literally heard these excuses before.
It literally got to the point where I was like, I know Dave. Dave, I appreciate the invite. I know it's booked every single night. I know everyone's raving about it. I'm going to come. I can't wait to try it. And then I go, and I have so much faith in Dave, my boy Dave, dare I say, that... Of course, I'm going to try it. And I tried it, and sure enough...
Delicious.
Just...
Like a Sunday breakfast sausage.
Very...
Veganicious.
Very, very satisfying. But ultimately, what Bad Batch did for me was it solidified this inkling I've had lately. Now, I'm going to preface it with something we talked about a few weeks ago, and I was not the biggest Star Wars fan. I, like everyone else, thought Vader looked badass. Everyone wants to own an X-Wing, a speeder bike.
You thought Vader looked badass, or you thought Vader scared the little bejesus off of your tiny hiney?
Not Vader. That was Dark Helmet is the one who made me cry in a theater.
His second cousin, Dark Helmet, he was a truly scary one.
Our beautiful and wonderful and kind Aunt Irma had a straw bag that on Dark Helmet's reveal ever so gently touched me. And I said, and I quote, "Ah!" for about 2 hours.
After how many decades of Star Wars watching, at what point were you like, if I ever come across a Sith Lord in real life, he's going to gently touch me? That sounds like a Law and Order SVU episode waiting to happen.
Just Ice-T really explaining it. Be like, you're telling me this kid likes when Sith diddle him?
Hola. You're telling me Medi-chlorines is going to make him like little children in the theater?
You think fucking Neo in the Matrix ends more sentences with question marks? You have not seen this motherfucker go to town.
Mulaney was right.
You mean to tell me that he embezzled? Like, God damn it!
I didn't mean to interrupt you. So go ahead. So please wax poetic.
But Star Wars was this thing that, not too dissimilar to like I guess I think the Star Trek ship looks cool, and like I liked Voyager. I didn't love Star Wars, and then Mandalorian was this like epic, it's fucking dope cowboy shit. And we got 2 awesome seasons. And when Luke showed up and he was like, I'm the baddest
Oof.
motherfucker on the planet,
I just spilled the cup.
it was another moment not dissimilar to in Rogue One where they added that Vader scene. And I'm like, oh, like holy shit.
Total
Vader,
intentional parallels. Absolutely.
the best Vader scene ever came in Rogue One. In my
Well,
opinion, there are
the best on screen, because the comic has shown Vader to be just the scourge of the galaxy that they talk about him as, and then you like watch him, you start thinking, is that actually James Earl Jones in there? Because oof magoof, he needs some Ben Gay. I think he's got some stiff joints or something.
what I really, really loved about both of those things is the exact same thing I love about Bad Batch. Bad Batch on the surface, them being like, it's like the Ninja Turtles if they were stormtroopers. And then them making, them adding this, you can click the button, John. Then them adding the different elements to the story. Ellis in the chat saying that the best Vader scene is when he kills the younglings in the temple. I don't disagree. I guess it's the second. I mean, he looks lame in it, so I guess that's the only reason I do disagree. But
the best part is him trying to explain it away.
yeah,
See, what had happened was
the kid, they pulled the gun. What I have really grown to appreciate about Star Wars now is the huge level of interconnectivity. I'm not going to spoil Bad Batch because I know some people are sleeping on it too for some reason.
Yeah,
but
there's a ton of content in there. That's important. It's canon.
And what's really amazing is it's far bigger than just this one group. There's Jedis. There's there's so much going on in that show.
Bounty hunters. There's clones. Like there's literally it's a chapter ender, right?
Yeah.
Because we got obviously Star Wars is delivered in chapter format by design, but we think of them. I mean, you actually were describing the topic as, okay, well, this particular era, and I knew exactly what you're talking about. But this show literally closes a door on an entire chapter. We're able to see certain things that we've only ever heard about. So again, Filoni is like masterful playing with somebody else's toys.
Yeah, it's really it is not too dissimilar to when we were younger and I would like kick you a concept and you would, with your 6 skills, you'd whip out something that brought what was in my head to life plus some. And what it ultimately got me to is in the core 9 films.
Yeah.
That is so much less important to me than everything that is spun out to me. Star Wars now relies. Do you need a second?
My heart. Ugh.
If you told me that the Star Wars buffet,
Lamont, I'm coming.
If the Star Wars buffet closed episodes 1 through 9, those trays got empty and they're never going to refill them.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it. And again, it's part of the reason that I like long form storytelling.
So you're referring to the Skywalker saga in essence. You're saying, just to clarify the point, you're saying that if that got bookended for whatever reason, thrown into a time capsule for the eventual alien invasion, you would be totally fine never hearing another word about anyone who fell within the pages, with the cover to cover of that particular saga. Them strong words.
I wouldn't go that far because
Okay.
I think there's a certain beauty to how they have evolved and included these characters, but their centralized story, I had my fill, it was satisfying enough, and it hasn't even come close to Luke Skywalker's best moment happens outside of the saga. Vader's best moment happens outside the saga. I can't help but feel like we're 2 years away from where like the Ewoks best part happens outside the saga. I cannot think of a moment in that original trilogy that hasn't been greatly surpassed by what lives outside of it via the cartoons, the comics, the secondary films.
God bless you, little heart.
I couldn't even fight it to hit the sneeze button. It's very interesting because I can't think of a ton of examples where this happened, where the thing that brought him to the dance
there's no
Star Wars is very unique that way.
Well, it is, and it's interesting too because Star Wars, no one can deny. George Toy Boy Lucas himself cannot deny that Star Wars, as we originally got it and ongoing, was in and of itself a collection of a multitude of other ideas, right? At no point did he say, I invented something out of the clear blue sky. Then he'd really, really be a liar. Never mind the fact that he's like, oh, no, I've got all these planned out. You didn't. You didn't. You brother, sister, kissing son of a bitch. But that being said, that's, I think, part of the reason why Star Wars feels so comfortable, right? Star Wars is that Star Wars is that blanket that's folded up on the back of the couch. Like a million people have had it over their legs and farted into it, and it smells like the house that it's sitting in. And it does not matter. It doesn't matter because it's comfortable and it's familiar, and you like snuggle up to it, like smell the farts, and you don't even care. But that doesn't mean that it's perfect. So I kind of do agree with you that 1 through 9, which is
all right,
that's
our show for this week, everybody.
I do not want to hear that sound clip ever again. So again, and 1 through 9, I think is a stretch. Ellis mentioned prior 1 through 6 is probably a little bit more fair because we got interwoven as with 7, 8, and 9. We had new pieces that technically, at least as far as I'm concerned, added to that ongoing saga, gave us little bits and pieces that made us appreciate better what was going on in that continuing story, the Skywalker saga, for lack of a better term. But that all being said, I do disagree with you yet again. Yet again, I disagree with you. I think that the Filoni stuff, I think that the Favreau additions, I think that also as well as Nick Roll, patent pending trademark, also as well as the extended universe books, which some things have been pulled into be like, okay, well, now we are going to take Thrawn and we are going to do this and we are going to do that, as opposed to other connections that's super exciting, especially for me. The comics, there are other. I mean, there were variants of Star Wars characters that we know and love running around way before way before Loki rolled around. So no, I wouldn't say that I don't want to go back, especially because by comparison, Luke exists in what's happening right now in Mandalorian verse.
Yeah.
So Luke is out there. Luke is training little baby Yoda, Grogu, giving him little blue cookies and, burping him on the back, sticking him in a baby Bjorn and running through swamps as we speak. So I think that there is still more proverbial plant-based meat on that non-existent bone. I think there's still more Skywalker saga. Honestly, even more than I think it, I pray that it's true. I pray that it's true because my amateur opinion, I think that they botched the tail end as they were approaching the finish line, having creators with totally different concepts in their mind, doing subsequent sequels that didn't really make sense and blah blah. I hope that they continue to go back to that particular and give us more Skywalker content, give us more Lando content, Give us more Chewie content. Give me more solos. Give me more. I even want to know what Goldenrod and and R2D2 are doing running around. I want more. Give me
My
more.
question though is, do you think that material belongs in the center of any stories, or is it best
No,
explored?
no. I
Is
think
it
that
is
at
it
this
best
point,
explored elsewhere?
I think absolutely it needs to be not in the big top, so to speak, of that circus, that Star Wars circus that is continuing to play sold out performances at the Garden and beyond. No, I think that what you need, the way that you need it, is the exactly the way that we're getting it, as little asides, right? Little nuggets, little satisfactions that we're gonna get while we're going down one road out of the peripheral. I'm like, oh shit, Luke is over there. Oh shit, Lando's
Luke's
doing
over
this.
there now. Booga looka boo.
Oh, now Dice is gonna be coming for his cut too. Son of a bitch. We make no money off of this, and we're getting sued right and left.
So now it's interesting though, because what, like, I never knew, and it was like the second or third episode of Bad Batch,
Yeah.
the transition from clones to like regular people from the universe is so goddamn interesting.
It was like a fire sale for a baseball team that it plays at City's Field and is incredibly disappointing, even though they did pull a win out tonight, shockingly. No, it was literally like a stormtrooper fire sale. They're like, oh, you know all those clones? You're done now, son. You're done turning your blasters, handing your helmets. That armor don't do no good anyway. We're going over to cheaper regular humans. And I loved the way that Filoni has a way about his storytelling. First and first, mostly, this show is completely intended for children,
Oh yeah.
right? In very much the same way that the
Which
original
is why
Star
I
Wars
think I was like
movie was
dismissive of it.
intended for. I mean, the fucking dialogue is as cringy, if not more cringy, than some of George Lucas's very own pens.
Like when
Um,
when the big guy needed a teddy bear, I was like, "You fucking show! I'll punch you in the face."
You're like,
Why
I am a
watching
man. I have a job. I have hair on my nether regions. What kind of goofiness are we talking about? However, I do have to throw it back to you, Charlie, because in the world of US comics, Charlie put forward a concept that at first I was like, let me wrap my head around it, because at first I didn't really get it. And Charlie's concept was, we're going to have content that we put out there that might be intended for a different particular demographic. However, it's all canon, it's all counts. So if you put out, say, a children's book, the parent reading the kid that book is going to need to maintain some details, because it is going to show up elsewhere, or it's going to answer questions maybe that have been posed otherwise. And Charlie, you got to realize that's exactly what Filoni is doing. There are huge, galactic size information drops that occur in what is in essence a children's show, that are very important to anybody who is keeping score canon wise for the Star Wars world. There are siblings that we didn't know about. There are certain abilities that we didn't know were attributable. There were characters that we didn't know were floating around at different particular points in time. There's a lot of important shit. If someone broke down the actual occurrences, like the occasions that happened during the course of this show, shit, that's some important stuff. Never mind the fact that like one guy looks like Rambo, one guy looks like freaking strong guy from X-Men. Like there's some stuff where you're like, oh man, do I have to really sit through this right now? But you do. I'm here to tell you that you do.
What's really interesting though is that that show specifically has the cartoons, and I'll call them cartoons. I don't mean it
Cartoons, digital
dismissively.
computer cartoons, yeah.
The cartoons have
Animated.
they've ramped up considerably, because
Oh, sure.
Clone Wars wasn't must watch for me. Rebels wasn't even must watch for me. I popped in and out. I watched a ton of clips online.
You were more of a droids man.
I was more of a droids man. Bad Batch really fell into this pattern of just like, all right, no, I'm really enjoying this, warts and all. And the warts come from the
Touching frogs.
audience. Yes, and
Oh,
from the audience it was designed for. My question to you
yeah.
is there anything in the Star Wars universe that you even think is better served in a 2-hour runtime film or a 6-hour trilogy? I was like racking my head with they're doing Rogue Squad, which I'm so excited, and now like part of me is dreading. Like I would so prefer 8 hours of like the I almost
But
want everything
you
to.
might be getting 8 hours. So like 8 hours broken up as 3 films in the theater, or
Nowadays
eight
that's 3 films,
hours,
yeah.
or 8 hours as hour-long episodes, 8 episodes in a season, which like we've seen, Loki was shorter than that. 8 hours is still 8 hours. The difference is the story arc of that particular what they're trying to get across to you. So like Mandalorian, for example, I don't think would have worked better as 3 2-hour installments. I think the way that they had it, I mean, Bear and Cub notwithstanding, I think that the way that they delivered it to us was absolutely perfect.
I think it's because the type of storytelling is so different. When you're
Sure.
in a film format, not every film is Kill Bill
Bad Batch
Part
could
1 and
have been a
2.
movie. Bad Batch could have been a movie because don't forget, Bad Batch doesn't bounce around
That's
from
true.
subject matter to subject matter. We basically stay with the core group of characters. Maybe you bounce around from one of that core group to the other, but that's like saying, oh, okay, what's Han Solo doing versus what Luke is doing? Same team,
Yeah.
same uniform.
I just find it so funny. I almost feel like Star Wars has evolved out of the movie format. And again, Rogue One is one of my favorite
Sure, and
things ever. And it
that's
and if you
that's a
gave me
single serving plate
and if you gave me
at
even
the buffet, son.
if you gave me 20 more minutes, I feel like it would have been diminishing returns. I would have been too full.
Hmm.
Like that movie
Like another Agent
wraps
Carter.
up not it's but it's funny the way that these stories, I mean, it's not a victory lap because the storytelling, like you
I
said,
am
was
gonna
different.
do a couple of
And I
laps
think
after this.
I think that's the interesting thing is finding that perfect way of telling your story is a big part of that process now.
Right.
And what series gets 1 season, what gets 2, what plays as 6 hours, what plays as 3 sets of
Well, the
2 hours.
Marvel ongoing series, the ones that are operating at least for the time being within current continuity, they're that same way. WandaVision, everybody was. I mean, it wasn't the last episode of that first season. And when I say first season, I mean only season. Before that season was even over, they were already bothering. Paul and Elizabeth. They were like, okay, what? I happen to know them very closely. So, they were like, okay, what about season 2? And they were like, nah, son, kitchen's closed. There is not going to be a season 2 because this occurs as part of an ongoing story arc. So it's just part of a longer storyline, which Bad Batch very much is exactly that. Now, Bad Batch might very well get Bad Batch season 2 because they need to tell us more story and
Yeah,
also
or it
continue
could
the
spin off
narrative.
into another thing
Sure, it might be
that
like, oh, the further adventures of Crosshair, God forbid.
that
Another reason why there are
traitorous scum.
somehow South African accents floating around in space. The one thing Star Wars, metachlorians, space politics, all of it. I give a pass to all of it. The accents that Star Wars chooses to employ still shakes my mind. But you know what? When you love something, sometimes you gotta let shit go, man.
Bottom line for me is I absolutely it's so great to I bitch about it all the time. It seems that some people's hobby is hating things. It is
Yes.
so great to have another thing I love. Like,
Yeah.
get me the replica Bad Batch helmets because I would display them and be able to be like, fucking Crosshair was a good guy. Then it was a bad guy because
Charlie
they adjusted his brain. Like, there is something
Charlie
so
would fit
dope.
in so well with the Bad Batch.
I really am a
I
fucked up
mean,
clone. I'm a
and
bad variant.
well,
The whole nine.
that's the thing. Like, I'm clearly also in those dirty ass clone trooper armor running around. But I'm like, guys, can you maybe take a scrub brush to that shit every once in a while?
You
Just can you
legitimately,
please?
the rest of us have skulls painted on our masks. We like choose to use a laser sword instead
Face
of the government.
tattoos.
You quite literally have like the normal clone haircut. Your shit's still polished. Like you're in the middle of battle. You're like,
Squeaker, squeaker.
like,
Yo.
goddamn, John, not now.
If you don't look good in the middle of a space battle, what are you even doing with your life?
You know, it's just one of those things that in our comment section, my boy Jim says he's finally started watching AEW. Now he knows he has to watch Bad Batch.
Jim, the list is long, my friend. We're going to
I
have plenty of content for you.
I sometimes think it's better to find out after the fact. Because, again, Bad Batch is a banger. And the fact that I've come to Star Wars, this weird sideway path, just proves that it doesn't matter if the thing you love botches something big. There's always just the next at bat can get right back on course. And in that regard, man, it makes me optimism. It fills me with optimism for everything out there I ever loved, the stuff I
I'm
currently
so
love.
glad to hear that.
I'm so
Sounds to
glad.
me like we're going to be taking a trip to the buffet.
Oh, hell yeah. You enjoy your white rice at the Chinese food buffet because I think
I
it's
will.
nothing
I
else.
will.
So I'm going to now kick it to you, John, because I have to take a sip of water and we need to pay some bills. This beautiful show would be impossible without the support from you people. You liking, you commenting, you sharing, you doing all the bullshit notifications. I'm not going to lay them all out to you. You know what to do. Actually,
you gotta
do
like, comment, and subscribe. Come on, there's no secrets.
Piece
But the
of
other thing you
garbage.
gotta do, first of all, your job is not done. You gotta put in a little more effort because the other thing that you gotta do as soon as it's available to you is check out one of our top sponsors right here on Facebook Gaming. It is Sergeant Finesse. He does 2 streams a day. He gives you outstanding gaming content. He throws supporter games going on right now. He does giveaways, a few of them in my drawers over there. He throws contests. I have not won any of those. I don't know what the hell is going on. But don't be a sucker. Check him out today. Throw him a like. Throw him a follow. Consider becoming a supporter. However, also as well as if you need a pick-me-up, follow the White Rabbit down to sneakenergy.com. Use code SGT at checkout. That's some Tropicilla. Oh, gurgle, gurgle right there. If you're looking for some fresh new gear, go over to geeksunleashed.com. Use code SARGE at checkout there. When the Sarge is on deck, you salute.
That's right. And what's great about the Sarge is that he does stream 2 times a day, constantly online. But if you need to unplug and if you don't have plans for September 10th, oh, baby, do I have some good news for you. One of my favorite bands in all the multiverse, Bad Mary, which can be found all over social media at Bad Mary Band, is performing September 10th over at the Holiday Inn in Lancaster, PA. It's a night show. It's an all ages, but if you're 21, you get to imbibe in that delicious liquid fuel. Doors are at 10. Fest Fridays after party is going to be sick. Not only are our wonderful, wonderful friends, Bad Mary, playing at midnight, you got Ford the River, Drew and the Blue, Fresh Fruit, and Hold Fast performing. But my favorite part is before you go to that show, if you're so available, you can check out all of their music on every single music streaming service. Also, as well as you can support them financially over on patreon.com/Bad Mary. Check them out. Give them a like, give them a follow. All the things you know to do and enjoy some of my absolute favorite music in all the multiverse.
Oof, Charlie is working on them bass playing skills because he is trying to weasel his way up on stage.
A
I
slap in the
know it.
bass.
No,
A
Charlie's
slap in it.
gonna
I
play
just want to
like
be
the
the hype guy.
stand-up bass.
No, I want to be the hype guy. I want to be like, "Are you mother truckers ready?"
Are you gonna wear like a giant clock like Flavor Flav?
Oh,
I
fuck
can see it.
yes. Only it's
I'm gonna talk to
digital.
Mike and Amanda about it right now. I think we can probably get you in there right now. But do me a favor, Charlie. If you've already
Yes.
booked your tickets, go ahead and start my time. Start my
And
time.
you're going.
So, anyone who knows me knows that I am more of a headline guy. I do not like to
Know how to read.
poison occasionally. I'm surprisingly very good at Braille. I do not like to poison my mind or be fed opinions. So I'm very judicious about where I get my information. That being said, one of the places that I avoid like the proverbial plague in terms of getting information of ongoings is social media. Social media, in my opinion, is where you go to trade goofy pictures of your brother tripping when he's setting up a Ghostbusters presentation. Social media is where you go when you want to tell the best fans in all the multiverse what's happening at lovely US Comics HQ, or what's going on with the best band in the world, Ben Mary, or the best game streamer, Sergeant Finesse. That's what social media is for, as far as this guy is concerned. However, sometimes your daily website trafficking says, you know what, you've got to check out this little tidbit of information on said social media. So, one of the major sites that I like to go to on a daily basis to stay up to date with what's going on in the comic book world, not the actual world, I like to make it a point to head over to Comic Book Resource. So I do want to give credit where credit's due. Again, I picked up this story on Comic Book Resource. Check them out.
Today's episode is brought to you in association with Comic Book Resource.
I wish. Soon enough, they'll be talking about U.S. comics. Don't you worry. But they brought my attention to one of my very favorite content creators, Joe Quiones. Now, you might know him by some of his work on America Chavez, one of the hottest properties that's out there right now. Now, you would think that combination, two great tastes that taste great together, would be something that would put a smile on my face. But this story, Charlie, did not put a smile on my face. It put a frown on my face. Joe went ahead, again, I'm on first name basis with him as well. Joe Quiones went ahead and posted on his own personal Twitter feed with the image accompanying. So we'll go ahead and we'll share it if we can. Oh, cool! They made a poster of my cover. What happened to my signature, Marvel? So Joe puts all his hard work and talents, he pours it into a cover for America Chavez.
A gorgeous cover.
A beautiful cover of a fantastic character who's just getting her comeuppance now. Her popularity is just going to continue to grow. Love her. Matter of fact, I just acquired her as a character in Contest of Champions. So, my poop and fight nights have just gotten much deeper. He draws this beautiful image. It's a cover of a comic. And Marvel says, hey, good job, Joe. Here's a couple of shekels for the effort. Then they decide, in typical big publisher fashion, to say, you know what? We got a few dollars for this bit of work. Let's go ahead if we could squeeze that content for another couple of coins. And they decide, and rightfully so, because more people should have this hanging on their wall than the comic cover would allow. We're going to make a poster out of this particular image. Great. I have no problem with any of that. And I don't think any comic book head would. But what they did next was downright dirty. They did Joe dirty. They took his signature and digitally scrubbed it off of the fucking image.
And they did a
What?
shit job.
And they did a bad job. They left like two little images. I don't know if we can get this image across, Charlie, but
I can do it.
I'll do my level best, or if you can. Um, they did a piss poor job, so it wasn't as if someone who wasn't necessarily paying attention would have noticed. Almost anybody with a relatively keen eye or who bought the damn poster would be like, what the hell is this? This little something. Honestly, they did a better job on the Oswald photograph showing him with guns in the backyard when they're trying to set him up as a patsy for killing JFK. The CIA did a better job with that picture modification than Marvel did with this freaking image. It's not a good job, and it was a shitty thing to do. So naturally, and as is only right, comic book creators, comic book fans, even people who are marginally paying attention rushed to his side to agree with him. Freaking Bruno Redondo posted almost immediately afterwards. This is absolutely not cool. Anti-cool. Hashtag not cool. So anybody who knows that name knows him as the current Nightwing artist for DC Comics. Who else? Comic book artist Francisco Francavilla. I apologize if that's mispronounced. He responded as well to the original tweet with a similar story. He said, yeah, it's a thing. I found a t-shirt with my Shang-Chi cover and the signature was gone. Charlie, so my question to you is this. What the fuzzy fuck? What the hell, man?
It is the most disrespectful, shitty thing to do. Right now on the screen, for those of you
What
that
a
are just
slap
listening to
in
audio,
the chops.
it's a very subtle signature. It's not a distracting signature, and yet on the poster,
Charlie, it doesn't make a difference
it.
if he signed it across her necklace. It doesn't make a difference if he signed it on her eyeglasses. It is his piece of artwork. And this is really at issue because what you have is an artist who is paid by the company to produce a particular piece of art. I understand, but this is not like making a sandwich when you're working at Subway, right? This is not like you bought a lamp off of Amazon and Inspector 42 assembled that lamp. Yeah, he was paid to do a job and he did so admirably, but it is still a piece of art. When art and commerce mix up, not even Kevin Smith can poetically combine the two satisfactorily. There's art and there's business. When you combine the two, you're really jamming them together, right? You are forcing bits and pieces together. Art should never be business, but in this world, it is. So, I mean, obviously, I think from your reaction, you're on the same page with me. You know, what they did was super shady.
I'm consistently disgusted with the way big companies run. And the thing that gets me even more repulsed is this notion that just because a company can, it means that they should.
Right.
We've long
That's
discussed
the entire concept of Jurassic Park. Have you not paid attention?
So the argument is always there. It's like when Superman was created and DC purchased him, do the creators need to be mentioned when Superman's used?
Yep.
Morally, yes. And now legally, yes. But that took a long time.
Decades, Charlie. It took decades for Siegel and Schuster to get the proper recognition.
And it's one of those situations where people, for some reason, act against their best interest. Now, here's the fact of the matter.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, when someone is suffering, we should have the empathy and the understanding to choose the obviously right side.
Oh,
Instead,
you
what
mean
I've
as like
read,
as people,
as
as
human
consumers?
people, we should go, hey, is this fucked up or is it not?
Right.
And we should be trusted to by and large go, that doesn't sound right. I don't need you to pot commit. I don't need you to pretend you know all the details. But if an artist's name is removed from an image that's being used to make money, you should go peculiar.
Right.
What? Why?
Why?
That's
Well,
all
yeah,
I'm
at
asking.
least
I'm
that.
asking for the
At least
bare
ask the question.
goddamn minimum of why. When people, right, on YouTube use media, when a reviewer uses a clip from a movie as transformative media, for those of you uninitiated, easy for
From
me to say,
Cybertron?
from Cybertron. What that means is you can take a movie clip, and if you're using it not to show the clip, but rather to discuss the clip, it's a visual aid for you reviewing something. That's
Yeah.
considered transformative media and it should be protected. However, these big companies constantly flag it on smaller creatives, robbing them of money because they're saying, well, we own it now. So instead of you getting advertisement money from YouTube, we get it. And always and forever, companies like YouTube will side on the original creator's
Sure.
claim before the investigation. It's like until proven
Yeah.
wrong, if
But
I
that's
use
like
a clip, if
that's
I
the court.
use
That's commerce court,
so
right?
by
Because
the
you have
same
to follow the dollar. Who am I going to make more money with? Then you know
correct.
what? Then until proven otherwise, I'm going to start off in this particular person's camp. But just because
My
something is by the letter of the, yeah, letter of the law is a little strong. Because a certain thing was written a certain way, or this is the way the end arounds work, that doesn't make it right. But that's not what I'm talking about. I
no,
don't
no,
want
no.
to
But
confuse the point.
I'm making. But I'll clarify it.
Okay.
For whatever reason, we all know it, and we all, for the most part, understand it. Someone saying you're using my shit in a way not intended, and just like, again, to go left before I get us back on track.
Yeah.
Just like saying, like, oh, well, if someone's contract says they get money for the theater release and then it releases on the moon, well, that's a different thing. Why the fuck do we get in our own way? A creator created a piece of art for a purpose, to be a cover of a dope comic book.
Right.
Marvel has every right, because of their contract, to turn that into a poster.
And
Them
it should.
scrubbing his name from it is an unnecessary and gross act, because the only place it could come from, in my opinion, is it exclusively comes from this place of like, well, fuck them. The only thing that they need to know is this is a Marvel property.
Charlie,
No,
I
fuck you,
think
Marvel.
I gotta be honest with you, dude. And we're fighting on the same side of the war in this case. But I think that you're giving them far too much credit. And this is actually a conversation that we've had with different
They are
plug
my
in the blanks.
enemy and I hate
Yeah,
them.
you're giving them far too much credit. I don't think that they sat down and said, "Fuck this particular artist," or "fuck artists." In period, it to them the reptile mechanical thinking was just like, no, take that off, take that off. Like at no point was there a moralistic mathematical equation that occurred with like, well, if we do this and do that, well, whatever social media pushback, if you figure out the differential, well, for the profit margin, then we'll come out in the end. Like it wasn't a Fight Club. If the automotive recall is less than what the court cases would be, then we're not going to do a recall. I don't think it was that at all. I think it was just literally like, no, take the name off. It's a poster. If first it was a cover, now it's a poster, and a cover is not a poster. So this is what they do. And actually, it's funny too because our shared mother, she made a really interesting
Allegedly.
point. The evidence is pretty strong. She made an interesting point. You know, they have done this since time immemorial. Obviously, going back to Superman with Superman's creator Siegel and Schuster, sure, of course. In terms of like character ownership, look, that I totally understand. If a company comes to me and you and says, "Hey, you know what?
Sold.
Invent some characters, dude. They cheap." Charlie comes cheap. If they said, "Hey, we want you to invent characters for us," and then we do so and we do
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
dope
yeah, yeah,
job,
yeah.
and then we can't come back and say, "Hey, we created those. They should own. We should own them." No, we were hired to do a particular job. So if we're hired, if they're hiring you to build a house, you can't say, "I built this house. I'm allowed to live in it now." That's not how it fucking works. However, yeah, all these like old buildings, all these like established 1926, these are the mason stamps. This is how they say, "I did this." And that's the difference between business and art, right? They can't take away, they can't say, even ghostwriters, if a person who thinks that they have a story to tell but they can't write, they can't put two sentences together, they may go out and hire a ghostwriter to write their autobiography or whatever the case might be. But even in those situations, when you're hiring somebody to do the work for you, those ghostwriters, those don't say secret at all. I could tell you, pick an autobiography by a non-writer of your choice. I can tell you after two quick clicks on the computer who wrote that specific autobiography. It wasn't the person, right? That's how that shit works. Not talking to you, buddy. And that's, again, that's the difference between art and business. Just because you created it, if you were under the employ of a particular company, you created it for them. Nobody is saying that he should own America Chavez at this point. What we're saying is, if he made a piece of art, por carajo, let him sign that art. And if someone's going to put it up on their wall and hang up in a dorm room or a little kid's bedroom or a U.S. Comics office that has a bunch of shit behind him, then you know what? That signature should be there.
It's an inch. It's a conversation that consistently happens, because a lot of Marvel creators, not to pick on Marvel, DC is a big company too, so they do crappy shit
Decent
too.
does it plenty. Decent does it plenty.
But what's insane to me is how easy it is to rectify. Our comment section doing a
Do
great
the
job
right
tonight,
thing,
by the
man.
way.
Do the right thing.
Bring up some great points, not only about art, but about the written word too. Frank Miller helped redefine Batman. You cannot tell me that his material wasn't used as inspiration. There are shots recreated in Batman v Superman.
The
That
version
without
of Batman that everybody is familiar with right now, even if you have three different actors portraying him, which we do, is still the Frank Miller version of Batman. That's the truth.
and it's just, again, it's easy, especially when we're not talking about money. No one's
Well,
talking
you know
there.
what though? We can talk about money because
All
sometimes,
right.
like you said, when you hear a certain thing, it just rings as like, that doesn't land for me. That doesn't sound right. Especially when these are stories about good versus evil largely. This is something that we get away from far too often. How can you have how can you have an art form that's predicated around telling the difference between good and bad, but you yourself don't know the freaking difference in your ongoing dealing? So again, you said we're not going to pick on Marvel. Fuck them. Let's pick on Marvel a little bit. I stood up for Captain Carter. I'm going to take a shit on them right now. Marvel creators are reportedly paid $5,000 for film adaptations of their work. So this is an exact example in a different format of what we're talking about. This is
And
what
the
I'm talking
worst
about. The
part is,
reptile robots running the show.
these monsters go, Look at us doing a thing we didn't have to.
We didn't have to do anything for you.
you.
You know what? When you go to AC or when you go to Vegas or if you're on the riverboat and you're doing some gambling and you come up big, you know what? If you don't peel a couple of chips off of the top of your pile and throw them the dealer's way, you're a piece of shit. If you don't tip the wait staff after you check out of a room that you were disgusting and gross in when you check out, you're a piece of shit. So for Marvel, billions of dollars are generated by these flicks. And they say, oh, you created this character that's now on the big screen that's generating billions of dollars for us. Here's $5,000. If it was me, I wouldn't even cash that check. If I was comfortable enough to turn my nose up at $5,000 token gesture, that's exactly what I would do. And I would do it on social media because that's the best thing that social media can do right now is to hold shitty people accountable.
And that's
dog and kitten pictures, absolutely. Oh, you made banana bread. Oh, you did a bun cake. That's awesome. I want to see those too, but also as well as hold big companies accountable.
And why is it that like the range is open for cancel culture to attack comedians trying to tell jokes, but those same people who are so fucking quick,
they're very quiet.
They get silent when it's why? Is it because Marvel's delivering bangers? Guess what? That's not gonna stop.
They're not mutually exclusive. If you go and you see a flick and it's whoever the hell Charlie Man, and there's a little stinger right afterwards created by John Rivera, nobody's like, oh, give me my money back. No, they're gonna sit back and shovel the popcorn into their face even faster.
Or even worse, I think what when you see a Siegel and Schuster Superman was created by, I think personally, and don't get me wrong, I don't want it to get misconstrued. It's awesome that appears early. If that was just buried in the credits, the same way the first AD is, that's still giving credit.
It's still something, yeah, exactly.
Where
still
credit's
something.
due. And don't get me wrong, in a perfect world, it would be upfront. But it's no, and know what else I fucking hate? Because a great point brought up by Brian in the comment section was that big companies do seldomly get called out compared to small creators. Or even more toxic is people saying oh, well, it's easy for you to say you don't have a dog in the fight. As of right now, US Comics has only cost time, effort, and money. And yet every single person that has been brought on, every single one of them has a deal or ownership or their name plastered. Internally, we have a Bible. And internally, created by, designed by, in the creator's Bible, the art, who drew it, who colored it,
and let me tell you the truth, Charlie.
To it.
Let me tell you the truth. It's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. Every time that we introduced a character, to put out not just the imagery, which if the imagery wasn't created by myself personally, I leave those signatures up. Whether it's digital, whether it's paper, all the time. I always give credit where credit is due. And we have had some, honestly, the list is too long, but we'll post it or talk about it maybe as one of our topics. But we have big deal creators, working comic book artists who have produced a lot of our imagery, which is just promotional imagery at this point. US Comics is not making a single cent over any of the content that we put out there. We still make it a point to credit every piece of artwork. Ellis is here, right? Ellis will tell you, he's in our chat. Every time Ellis has put color to any bit of work, we credit him.
And
Stan, every time he has drawn something, we credit Stan. Myself personally, I'm not going to do something and then be a fucking ghost. If I draw something and I have, I've inked it, and I have, then I want the credit there.
I
When
mean,
it gets printed and it has been printed, the signatures are there. And obviously, as a creator-owned comic book company, when somebody comes to us with a character that they created, they own the character. They're just lending us their
I
toy
mean, it was important
to
to
tell a
us.
story with.
It was important
Image.
to us
It was
because
important to all of those original creators that when they left the bigs and they went and started Image back in the day in the
which
90s,
is a company we loved.
it was important to them as well. They came over, those characters of theirs. Spawn belongs to McFarlane.
Huge
all
signature on all of his covers. And
Absolutely.
again, Brian in the comment section, arguably one of the best examples. Bill Finger was so involved with Batman. And again, I won't say that like fuck Bob Kane. I'm not that guy. I'm never gonna
as well.
Stan Lee, who gets solo credit. There are other creators that were involved. There are other people who put huge amounts of effort. And to give you a quick kudos, in the early days especially, we'd get art back, and then you would have to go and digitally remove the backgrounds. And that involved tracing around signatures. Check out our Instagram, US Comics HQ. You can see it.
Yeah.
That wasn't easy. That wasn't
porting signatures over and moving them so that they fit when something went to paper print, so that aesthetically it was still there. Because again, credit where credit is due, man. Yeah, how are you gonna go to somebody and say, "Hey, do this thing"? Look, ultimately, artists, whether you associate as an artist or not, you gotta realize artists are a completely different class of individual. They're a different species. They create, right? They create. We live in a world, not to get heavy, because I don't like it when this show gets heavy, but I'm gonna get heavy for just a minute because Charlie decided.
Yeah, all you got is a minute, sucker.
Not to get heavy, but we live in a world of consumers, right? We live in a world of locusts, and I don't mean that necessarily in a negative connotation, because Charlie will tell you, I don't squish bugs. I let them live. Locusts are just doing what locusts do. Locusts eat shit. All right. Consumers, they're not bad. Consumers are doing what they're supposed to do. They consume stuff.
Just
without
that
consumers, artists would be producing for nothing. We'd be producing for the abyss. Our content would go in essence unseen, and we don't want that. It would go unheard. It would go unread. We don't want that. However, you gotta realize, for every, I don't know, my math is somewhat subjective, but let's say for every 500,000 consumers, there's one creator, right? And that math means something very simple, boys and girls. You've got to look after the creators. You have to do it. You have to do it.
It needs to be a call to action, because to boil it down, because some people will hear this, despite loving comic books, despite loving the entertainment that spawned from it, they'll say, fuck them. That has nothing to do with me, but it does, because normalizing people's work, normalizing credit. The most horrendous thing I ever heard in my entire life was a person in a position of power said to me, I'm so sick of having to tell people good job. I pay them. That's their good job. Fuck you. Because you could do a bad job.
A sheath of pit.
You could do a bad job. You could not create. We could live in a world where there was no Thanos, so there was no Infinity Saga. Marvel didn't fucking do it alone. People create. People tirelessly work. Some people wind up suffering for decades before breaking through. Support yourself by supporting others, because when we normalize credit, the next time you're sitting in a boring ass office meeting and it was your fucking idea to use violet instead of scarlet, and now fucking Nike wants to give everyone a fucking Maserati, Jeff had a great fucking idea.
Charlie is 200% right, and we have to give credit where credit is due. So I would like to very much directly thank for bringing this ridiculous story to my attention, Emily Zogby, writing for comicbookresource.com. I give you, madam, full credit. Thank you so much for shining a light.
Am I doing that right way?
No, you're not. Shining a light on this bullshit story, Emily Zogby for CBR.com. But Charlie, I think
all of you fuckers
is saying one thing and one thing pure.
I know what it's saying. It's saying that all you fuckers look for reasons to be mad all the goddamn time. Why don't you take a fucking pause over what celebrities wearing what and talking about what? Get on a fucking bandwagon that matters. Let's give fucking people credit. But John, talking about credit, there is only one band that could possibly bring a close to these tremendous shows that feature you, the CEO, John Rivera of US Comics, and me, the Hybrid Panda and COO of US Comics. And what, my friend, do tell the people how we end each and every episode of US
It is so damn simple. First, you got to zip Charlie up. Then you got to turn the power on. Then you got to turn the volume up. And you got to tune Bad Mary and open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Save me, space girl. We are.